Hello, and welcome to our lesson on Introduction to Project Risk Management. This segment will cover characteristics and types of risks. In the context of risk management, whether organizational or project level, understanding the types of risks is crucial for effective identification, analysis, and response strategies. In this context, risks can manifest as positive or negative outcomes or introduce uncertainty. Project managers must navigate the complexities of risks, each with its characteristics requiring specific management and analysis approaches. We can broadly categorize risks into four main types as follows. Compliance or mandatory risks. These risks relate to adherence to regulations and standards. Organizations aim to minimize compliance risks to ensure their operations align with legal requirements, industry standards, and ethical considerations. Hazard or pure risks. Hazard risks, also known as pure risks, result in only adverse outcomes and are often associated with operational or insurable risks. Organizations generally tolerate certain hazard risks, such as theft, and manage them within acceptable limits. Control or uncertainty risks. Control risks introduce uncertainties about the outcome of a situation and are frequently associated with project management. Organizations typically have an aversion to control risks, aiming to manage uncertainties related to project benefits, delivery timelines, budget adherence, and specifications. Opportunity or speculative risks. Opportunity risks involve deliberate actions to achieve positive returns, often associated with marketplace or commercial risks. Organizations consciously take on these risks, aligning with their specific appetite for investment and focusing on opportunities that can lead to positive gains. Classification as internal and external. Classification by type, for example as technical risk, management risk, commercial risk, and external risk. Understanding each risk is imperative for effective identification, analysis, and response. A detailed risk description facilitates a shared understanding and clarifies ownership and responsibilities. There is crucial information that must be recorded to comprehend a risk fully. This information includes the following: name or title of risk, a concise identifier for the specific risk under consideration, statement of risk, a comprehensive statement encompassing the scope of the risk, along with details of possible events and dependencies. Nature of risk, in-depth details regarding the risk classification, timescale of potential impact, and any other pertinent characteristics. Stakeholders in the risk. Identify internal and external stakeholders who may be impacted or involved in the risk. Risk attitude, appetite, tolerance, limits, or criteria. Articulation of the organization's stance towards the risk, including its risk appetite, tolerance, limits, or specific criteria. Likelihood and magnitude. Evaluation of the likelihood and magnitude of events, along with consequences, should the risk materialize at its current or residual level. Control standard required. Specify the standard of control needed, target level of risk, or adherence to risk criteria. Incident and loss experience. Documentation of historical incidents and losses associated with similar risks. Existing control mechanisms and activities. An overview of the control mechanisms and activities currently in place. Responsibility for developing risk strategy and policy. Identify individuals or teams responsible for shaping the overarching risk strategy and policy. Potential for risk improvement. Assessment of the potential for risk improvement and the level of confidence in existing controls. Risk improvement recommendations and deadlines. Specific recommendations for enhancing risk mitigation, along with deadlines for implementation. Responsibility for implementing improvements. Clear identification of the individuals or teams responsible for implementing recommended improvements. Some of the information mentioned above is dynamic and evolves as we progress in the different stages of project risk management. A risk register is usually the name of the document that we maintain throughout the project to record and update this information. The validity of an identified risk within a project is a dynamic aspect that hinges on its applicability across the project's life cycle or specific phases and activities. Not all risks persist throughout the project. Their relevance might be confined to particular stages or activities. Consider the scenario of a project facing a potential delay due to awaiting governmental approval for its design. This risk is time-bound and loses validity once the design stage concludes and the necessary approval is secured. Recognizing the temporal constraints of such risks is crucial in crafting an effective risk management strategy. Defining the specific phase or stage during which a risk holds validity is a pivotal aspect of risk management. This determination significantly influences the chosen risk management strategy and dictates allocating resources, effort, time, or budget to address the risk. For instance, if a risk is pertinent only in the early stages of a project, the emphasis may be on front-loaded efforts to mitigate or eliminate the risk during those phases. On the other hand, if a risk spans multiple stages, a sustained and integrated risk management approach is warranted throughout the project's lifecycle. This nuanced understanding of risk validity ensures that project teams allocate their resources judiciously, focusing on risks at their peak relevance. It allows for a targeted and efficient deployment of risk management efforts, contributing to overall project success. In essence, recognizing the temporal scope of risks is a strategic imperative. It enables project teams to navigate uncertainties precisely and optimize their risk management endeavors based on the evolving dynamics of the project lifecycle. This is the end of this segment of our lesson. In the next segment, we shall continue discussing characteristics and types of risks. This course is presented to you by South Europe College. Thank you for listening and see you on our next segment.